In 2019, many cinephiles, especially millennials and Generation X cinephiles, consider 1999 as both their favorite film year and as the best year for film of all time. Recently, I've been thumbing through a great number film book called Best Movie Ever, How 1999 Blew Up the Big Screen, which chronicles all the big films and TV shows and real life events that were happening all in 1999. So as you read the book, really it's understandable why that 1999 was picked as such a great film year. But I'm not here to talk about 1999. You see, despite all the glory that 1999 gets, I think there's one year that, for some reason or another, is kind of ignored among many cinephiles, and that's the year 2006. I mean, sure, many people see great movies from 2006, but I think many don't see what a great year 2006 was altogether for film. See, on the surface, it looks like a very mundane time for both the real world and for media, but that is until you actually start researching it. Of course, yeah, on the greater world stage, not much was happening. Saddam Hussein apparently was executed, I think, in the Middle East, but other than that, not much was happening. However, on the media side of things, all our screens were starting to really blow up. For starters, Google had just bought the one-year-old YouTube for $1.65 billion in November of 2006. Now let that sink in for a moment. See, YouTube is the second most popular site on the internet ever, the largest video hosting website ever, and has made an uncountable amount of money for its users. Not to mention that it has changed the world in uncountable ways too, and it all started in the 2006 buyout. And honestly, what 2006 offers is frankly overwhelming to me. Now, for the sake of time, I'll try to go over only the big ones that really were the best, or at least everyone remembers. I could really expand this to individual movies, but that's something for the future. I'll start with The Departed. For those who don't know, it won Best Picture in 2007. It was probably the film that most people think about when they think of great 2006 movies. It's a crime film directed by Martin Scorsese, as well as written and produced by him, as a remake of the 2002 Hong Kong film Infernal Affairs. The film takes place in South Boston. It's about an Irish mob boss placing a mole within the Massachusetts State Troopers, and while the Massachusetts State Police also place a mole within the Irish mob. The film was a rare box office success for Scorsese, and actually made him go on to make movies like Shutter Island or Hugo. Another lauded film from the year is Babel. It was Roger Ebert's #1 film from 2006. It's a globe-trotting film featuring 4 interconnected stories, written and directed by Alejandro Inarritu, and he's the guy who did Birdman, for anyone who wants to know. The film was a bit like The Fountain and was said to have inspired the film adaptation for Cloud Atlas. I'm not sure what to think of it. I haven't watched it. Apparently it's very well done. Has Brad Pitt in it. It apparently has a sort of anti-weapon stance in its thematic content. So I don't know. Go check it out. Apparently it's really good. I should probably watch it one day. Now these next films are not just my favorite of the year, but also my favorites of all time. With that in mind, I have ranged the following as sort of hierarchy. It's more of a loose-based assemblage, but I'm trying to avoid a top X movie list. But here we go. Pan's Labyrinth. This was a weird film. It's pretty violent, but supercut the fantasy scenes would make you swear it's a totally different movie altogether. And that's a big testament to his directing, of course, as well. Without spoiling it, it's a pretty sad film, to be quite honest, dealing with a little girl's stay at the presidency of her evil stepfather, but ends on a high note with how to question the nature of reality within the film's universe. Another praiseworthy aspect of the film is the production design, which works everywhere in the film, which is something hard to pull off in a non-American film, especially a film that is both historical and a fantasy film at the same time. The Prestige. This film reminds me a lot of Primer in the fact that it is endlessly rewatchable, non-linear puzzle box film with great acting, writing, and directing. This is the film that Christopher Nolan made between Batman Begins and The Dark Knight. Honestly, even watching this film after 3 times, I still don't understand it fully. The film was based off of a great novel, I think written only a couple years before the making of the movie, about 2 rival magicians, and from what I understand, Nolan greatly improved upon the novel, and it shows. So, as much as it's a confusing film, I think even from the first time of watching it, you can enjoy it even if you don't fully get it. Again, like Primer. Paprika. While this is the notorious film that was said that Christopher Nolan ripped off to make Inception, I feel like it is greater than that. The film, unlike Inception, feels like an actual dream at certain points. It has great pulpy intrigue to match. It's an animated film that truly uses its identity as an animated work to give itself freedom that rivals Miyazaki at certain points of artistic expression. The plot is a bit confusing, I will admit, and certain things are never explained, but the entire premise is a bunch of therapists have access to a patient's dreams through a device known as the DC Mini. It's a bit more complicated than that though, and I encourage you to watch it for yourself to figure it all out. The Lives of Others. It's hard to explain what makes this film so great, except that it just is. Maybe it's the acting and the level of accuracy to the real life of East Germany. For those former East Germans who watched the film, said it was a perfect portrayal of the country, as well as the Stasi, the German secret police themselves. Many critics have pointed out the film's best strengths is pulling up with both details and emotions as the film progresses. In fact, the American writer John Podhoretz, a speechwriter for Ronald Reagan and George H.W. Bush, that was the best film he had ever seen. The Fall. I'm astounded that many don't know about this film. The film probably has some of the best color photography in film, and maybe has the best color photography ever. The film took 4 years to make and was filmed in 20 countries. Really, other than just showing famous stills from the film like I'm showing now, it's impossible, in my opinion, to describe how great this film is. It's also important to note that the plot driving the film is mostly told from a bedridden injured stuntman to a little girl who broke her arm, as well as some of her imagination too, but it's so much more than that. It must be seen to be believed. Perfume, the story of a murderer. Not only does this film, like The Fall, have some of the best color visuals I've ever seen, Perfume has one of the most original plots as well. The film follows a young man who claims that his nose knows all the smells in the world and thus decides to become a perfumer. Eventually, he decides that in order to create the ultimate perfume ever made, he needs to murder several young girls and extract the scent of their dead bodies. Although this might sound like a gruesome premise, the film is pretty lighthearted in its approach and feels oddly like a fairy tale at some points. The funniest thing about this film was that it was considered not being able to be filmed except maybe Stanley Kubrick and Milos Forman by its author, the author of the novel that it was based off of. The film was eventually completed by Tom Twinkler, a filmmaker who had only made 5 okay films at the time. My hat's off to him, honestly. Children of Men. After first watching, the average viewer might not get why this is such a great film, and that's understandable. But I think the public ought to know why this film is so great. One thing the film is great at is its long takes, that is, an uninterrupted shot that goes on for sometimes for several minutes. Another great thing for this film is its world building. The entire film premise is a world where there has been no new babies for 18 years. The film takes place in 2027 and the infertility crisis started in 2009. It really shows about the film with its world building. Watching it really gives a realistic sense of doom and hopelessness while sprinkling various futuristic technologies, which I won't spoil, that give it a creative and realistic edge, whereas a futuristic one. You feel that it's very much a science fiction film, but has other things going for it as well. One scene in particular comes to mind where a bunch of fake future newspapers are plastered against the home that the main character, Theo Farron, is in. And some of those help with fill in details with like fictional events that happened that deviated from our timeline that really, I think they're done perfectly, especially since that the production department had to make all those from scratch essentially. Honestly, I think it might not have as blatant world building as a film like Brazil, but probably as good and as timeless as world building as that film. It's very an emotion film too, in my opinion, with all the aforementioned plot elements culminating very well in its finale, and really in its finale at the very end, which again I won't spoil, that again you have to see for yourself. And seriously, this is probably my favorite film in the entire video. It's probably one of my favorite films of all time too. Also, as great as all those films were, I left out a lot of films for the sake of time that were heavily lauded by critics, such as The Queen, Apocalypto, The Host, The Fountain, The Last King of Scotland, Bubble, United 93, Flags of Our Fathers, Letters from Iwo Jima, Man Push Cart, A Prairie Home Companion Movie, Aquila and the Bee, I'm a Cyber But That's Okay, The Three Burials of Melquiades Estrada, The Island, The Child, Voltaire, Tristram Shandy, A Cock and Bull Story, Inland Empire, Casino Royale, The Curse of the Golden Flower. I'm sure I missed some too anyway. Similarly, 2006 was an above average year for television as well. Famous anime such as Death Note, Fate Stay Night, Code Geass, and Black Lagoon all first came out in 2006. The anime industry itself had also made a record amount of money, equivalent to 2.9 USD, and has never been topped since. Also, famous Western TV shows were released this year, included Dexter, Psych, The IT Crowd, 30 Rock, and Jericho. Surely this is an astonishing, amazing film year and media year in general, and I really have no idea why in the world it's not remembered like 1999 is. As a last note, there's also something interesting I've noticed for the film year 2006, a united theme in many of its great films. Just like 1998 and 1999 had the united theme exploring the theme of what is real in films such as The Matrix, The Truman Show, Existence, 13th Floor, and Dark City, I would say that 2006 had a big theme of childhood running through a lot of its themes, or perhaps more specifically the theme of corruption of childhood made times by uncaring adults. This can be seen in films like Little Children, The Child, Children of Men, Akeelah and the Bee, The Fall, and most of all, in my opinion, in the film Pan's Labyrinth. And 3 of these films contained a variation of the word child in it. Of course, the theme obviously isn't present in every single great film this year, but it's interesting to note that so many films share this theme. Now, I want to hear from you guys. What was your favorite film in 2006? And do you prefer the films of 1999 or 2006? Anyway, that's all I have for now. This is Mr. Fiction. Don't forget to subscribe.